And that's where President Cyril Ramaphosa is hosting a meeting with Belgium's King and the Queen on their first state visit to South Africa. King Felipe and Queen Matilda are here to discuss broadening trade relations. Newzroom Africa's Govin Whittles is at the Union Buildings and joins us now. Govin, I'm told that you have the Finance Minister with you. This might be an opportune time as well to find out from the Finance Minister what the impact of BP Southern Africa pulling out of aviation activities in South Africa means for our country.
It would, Oli. Thank you so much, and good morning again from the Union Buildings. We'll get straight into it. Just a few moments or minutes until King Felipe and Queen Matilda from Belgium arrive here. King Felipe, the grandson of Leopold III, of course, his ancestors were the ones that had initially taken Congo as their personal property, then had it as a government colony for a number of years. But the Finance Minister is here to talk about some of the other global issues which affect South Africa's financial standing. Minister Enoch Godongwana. Minister, thank you so much for your time. Let's get into just a quick discussion. Let's begin with some topical news. We saw BP is pulling out from participating in aviation industry in South Africa. What would the impact be on South Africa's economy of that decision?
No, my sense is that they're moving for their own business papers, strategy papers, is from one component, which is jet fuel. I think that space will be occupied by other oil majors. I don't think that's likely to have a major impact at this stage, but Minister Mantashe is better placed to answer that question.
Well, were you surprised by that?
No. You know, I'm not surprised. You must understand, you've seen that Petronas have sold engine. Before that, we saw, what was it called? The other ones, all of these people have been moving, not because of anything. They're also redesigning their models globally. It's got nothing to do with South Africa's economy.
Yeah, Petronas selling engine. Of course, Petronas A wanted to come in on that deal. They weren't successful, and moving on. I just want to get on to a number of other issues. You returned from the G20 recently. You had said that the Ukraine-Russia incident had led to a compromise over the wording. That's why there was a outcome statement instead of a communique. We're seeing these political issues creep into fora, which are usually used to discuss economic development. What do you think about that?
There's nothing we can do about that. Since the April last year, after the Russian-Ukraine conflict, this has been a topical issue in those meetings. How do we frame the declaration? And as a result, it is a major powers who have brought this matter on the agenda, particularly the G7. So we will always wrangle over the formulation of what the declaration is about. The end result has been, since April last year, in all our G20 meetings, particularly the finance structure, which I know better, been characterized by where the chair, which is the president, that country which is presiding, has got to issue what is called a chairperson statement.
And have there been any consequences for South Africa's access to financial markets abroad because of its position that it's taken on the Ukraine-Russia conflict?
Not at this stage, and I don't see that possibility moving forward. That would arise as a result of what if, or for instance, the Americans go for what they call secondary sanctions against specific countries and so on. I don't see it coming soon. I don't think that's likely to be the challenge for us.
You're concerned the U.S. is putting forward a bill that to review its relationship with South Africa because of its position on the Ukraine?
Some senator was probably, or congressman, I don't know, but from what I've gathered, is not a senior person to be able to be effective. But we are engaging with the Americans on a regular basis. As you know, in most of my meetings in G20, we always have sideline meetings with Janet Yellen discussing all of these issues. I don't see that materializing.
Janet Yellen did say there would be consequences for countries who break the sanctions that are imposed on Russia. We hosted Lady R, the ship, and that was viewed very negatively.
No, I know the Lady R issue was viewed very negatively. We are engaging with the Americans on their perception about Lady R, and I see that matter being resolved soon.
Very interesting. Lastly, on Eskom, look, you issued what is called the bailout with strict conditions. Just getting your view on how you think they're managing their finances since that announcement in the budget.
No, we still, as you are aware, we have sent a team of people to do an assessment of Eskom. And that team will help us to have a better picture, and therefore, how do we reform our conditionality moving forward. So we're still doing an assessment of that. And mind you, is beginning from the 1st of April, that bailout.
That team's international experts, an independent assessment which will lead to a compulsory concession of the mines or the operations that are deemed to be worthy of being concessioned. It's an independent assessment. How is it going?
No, the independent assessment, that's a policy choice we can make. Is not depending on the outcome of the independent assessors. The independent assessors assessing Eskom's operation. We have got to make the choice. If really those things are not performing. But in the light of what has happened in the last few weeks, one is hoping that we're beginning to see effectiveness of the power stations, and there will probably be no need to think about those things.
About the concessions?
I don't think if they are effective. The rationale for doing that was precisely because of poor performance. But in the light of what the developments last week, I'm quite confident that we're going in the right direction.
Very interesting. Thank you, Minister, for indulging us on a number of issues. I do appreciate it. And Minister of Finance, Enoch Godongwana, well, that's quite interesting. Oli says things are going in the right direction at Eskom. That independent assessment is underway. It's being conducted by international experts, most of them from Europe and the UK. And one of the outcomes would be that they would consider concessioning some of Eskom's operations if they weren't going in the right direction. Minister of Finance telling us now that he believes they are going in the right direction, so might not be necessary to do that. That would certainly impact how Eskom operates going forward, but also not too worried about the international obligations or implications of South Africa's position on the Russia-Ukraine conflict and what it would mean for access to other markets. It's back to you, Oli.
Govan Whittles, thank you very much. As that particular process, that state visit, the pomp and ceremony about to kick off, we are going to take you back to Govan as soon as that happens. The Belgian royals are in South Africa. The understanding is that they have been here since yesterday, which was the 22nd, and they are going to leave the country on the 27th. I think that gives us 6 days that the Belgian royals are going to be in South Africa.